They left before sunrise. The city was still asleep, streetlights stretching along the empty road, while the car smelled of hot coffee and quiet excitement. She wrapped herself in a blanket. He kept his eyes on the road, smiling softly. Ahead of them were mountains, snow, and a few days meant only for the two of them. The ski resort greeted them with crisp air and the steady hum of chairlifts. Snow crunched under their boots, and the peaks looked as if they had just been painted. Their first runs were careful and slow. She laughed every time she fell. He reached out his hand and joked that it made the moment more memorable. With each descent, fear melted away, replaced by speed, adrenaline, and shared joy. At noon, they warmed up in a small wooden cafe with panoramic windows. Hot chocolate, flushed cheeks, and conversations about nothing and everything. Plans, memories, little thoughts that somehow felt important here. Snowflakes danced outside, and the world seemed calm, cozy, and perfectly balanced. Evening brought silence. A small room, soft yellow light, dark slopes outside the window, and stars above the mountains. They sat close under one blanket, listening to the wind brushing against the roofs, saying nothing. In that silence, there was more meaning than in 1,000 words. The trip wasn't perfect. There were bruises, tired legs, and wet gloves. But it became the kind of story they would return to again and again, remembering how, among snow-covered mountains, they grew even closer than before. By noon, the resort felt different, as if the mountains themselves had leaned closer to hear what was happening between them. The snow that had fallen overnight softened every sound, and even the laughter from the distant slopes seemed muted, respectful. They moved slowly that day, not because they were tired, but because neither of them wanted to rush anything anymore. They sat on a wooden bench near the edge of the trail, skis resting beside them, steam rising from their cups of hot chocolate. She watched the way his gloves moved as he spoke, confident and calm, and realized how much safety there was in his presence now. Not loud safety, not dramatic, just the kind that settles in your chest and stays. He, in turn, noticed how she listened, fully, without checking her phone, without looking away, as if this moment mattered enough to hold on to. Later, on the slope, she slipped on a turn and laughed before he could even reach her. He offered his hand anyway, and when she took it, she didn't let go right away. For a second too long, their fingers stayed intertwined, and neither of them commented on it. The cold air burned their lungs, but the warmth between them was unmistakable, steady, growing. That evening, back in the wooden chalet, the lights were dim and golden. Snow tapped gently against the windows like a quiet reminder of the world outside. They cooked dinner together, bumping into each other in the small kitchen, exchanging looks that said more than words ever could. When music played softly in the background, she leaned against the counter, watching him, and finally said what had been sitting on her tongue all day. "This feels different," she admitted, her voice low but sure. He nodded, not smiling, not joking. "I know. I've felt it since the first night." Silence followed, but it wasn't awkward. It was full of understanding, of unspoken promises, of the calm certainty that sometimes appears when two people stop pretending they don't care. He stepped closer, slow enough to give her time to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she rested her forehead against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and real. Outside, the mountains stood unchanged, ancient and patient. Inside, something new was taking shape, quiet, deep, and impossible to ignore. And for the first time since arriving, neither of them wondered what would happen next. They were exactly where they were meant to be,